Geographic gave me my first chance to visit the coastal redwoods of California. Huge, gargantuan trees rising up into the mist at dawn, and I'm out there at dawn and the trees are treeing and the mist is misting and I'm having epiphany after epiphany. But I'm shooting postcards. I mean, that's a nice shot, but I can go down to the visitor center and buy something like this. It is not going to shake them up at the Geographic. I've got to find the next right answer. But I know it's out there. So I just kept trying, I blew up the Dewitt doll, put that in the shot, didn't help much. But I know it's there. So I kept looking, and eventually I'm down on that path in the mud on my back, looking up through some rhododendron, and I saw this photograph. And I've sold this photograph more than any picture I've ever taken in my life. On shower curtains, on toilet paper, yeah, right. But I sold it. I sold it because it was the extraordinary view. Now, we won't do that. We won't take the risk to step out and find that next right answer, to reframe a problem into an opportunity. We won't take that risk if we're afraid to make mistakes. That's my photograph. I took it. If the great French photographer Cartier-Bresson talks about the decisive moment in photography, this is the indecisive moment. I've chosen a wide-angle lens that distorts this poor girl's feet so they're as big as her face, Lovely moment to photograph her face. Overexposed light in the background. There is not much to redeem this photograph, except that it's my daughter, and if I want to take her picture, I will, right? Most dads would help their daughter in this situation. Dad, I'm turning blue. Don't worry, I got color film. And yet, if I was afraid to make mistakes, this would be the kind of photograph just make me pack up my cameras, put them in the closet, and never take them out again. But I'm not thinking about that. Do you know that the average Geographic article is shot in 400 rolls of film? 400 rolls. That's over 14,000 images to get the 30 that go in an article. I'm not thinking about making mistakes. I'm looking for the next right answer. I stayed with it. Pretty soon she fell asleep and I took this photograph. Used light to bring you in on her, cleaned out the background, but still, what's the essence of this photograph? What's the next right answer? There's the picture. There's the picture. And if I was afraid to make mistakes, if I never took the risk to press out and look for that next right answer, God, I'd still be back here wondering why it didn't work. Now, I don't like to make mistakes. I want those things that I manifest into the world based on the best information I can get at the time. I want them done with the best technique I can train myself to. I want them in alignment with my personal vision and my corporate vision. And then, hey, if it's a mistake, how do I learn from it? How do I turn what looks like a win-lose situation into a win-learn situation? How do I make it into a little victory? And how do I put those little victories together to move from something like this to something like this? Because when we're not afraid to make mistakes, and when we really believe that there's more than one right answer, that's when we're able to break the patterns in our life and in our work. Patterns and systems are incredibly important. We don't function without them, but we all know that if we let our own patterns go too long unquestioned, they simply become our prisons. I show you this picture. There was no big ooh when it went up. Why? Well, your eye came up there in the upper left-hand corner, got a couple inches in, said, whoa, look, grapevines. That took 1 nanosecond. Now it's coming across, it's working its way back, about the middle, it's going, sure are a lot of those grapevines, aren't there? Time it gets down to the bottom, it's going, if I see one more stinking grapevine. It's just same old, you've seen it. And how many patterns are there like that in your life? And yet if we break that pattern just a little bit, don't destroy it, just question it. I had that red bucket down there. Now your eye comes in at the top, figures out that the grapevines, gets all the way down at the bottom, that's knocked out. Has to rescan the whole pattern down at the bottom, knocked out again. That red bucket. It's like the flaw in the perfect Japanese pottery cup that the pottery master leaves in to keep your interest, to keep you questioning, to remind you that perfection means wholeness, completeness, not flawlessness. Break the pattern. Break the pattern. It may be the first step in learning how to fly. Break the pattern. God, it'll make you feel good even if you're still stuck here. Because when we're able to break the pattern, then everything is always in question, even when it's going well. We're always saying, why do we do it this way? How can we do it better? Why do we do it this way? How can we do it better? And that's the perspective that really allows us to focus the vision. This is an Anasazi Indian ruin in the San Ildefonso Pueblo of New Mexico. And I show it to you not because it's a great photograph, but it's a pretty good example of what my business looks like when it's out of focus. Out of focus, you say. Well, what's this picture really about? Is it about the stairs in the foreground, or the keep off sign, or the Kiva ladder coming out of the top, or the Indians on the left, or those on the right? The surface is in focus, but the vision is fuzzy. And as a result, the photograph has no power. And I looked through the lens that day. I said, hey, what's the real mission of this photograph, Dewitt? What's its real job? And I realized it was just that Kiva ladder coming out of the top that had drawn my eye up there in the first place. And when I focused that vision, the picture got a lot cleaner, a lot stronger. That always happens when we can focus the vision. Get a clear lock on what we're trying to do and how to do it best. Whenever my pictures do that, they become simple and powerful and strong. And whenever we can get that kind of critical focus, we always find that we can do a lot more with a lot less. Because we run right into that wonderful sense of creative synergy, where the whole suddenly becomes so much greater than the sum of those well-focused parts. Now, we can't do that. Not in our business, not in our lives, unless every moment of every day we're paying attention. To me, life doesn't make appointments. It just keeps coming at us every day. And unless we do it, unless we stay on it, unless we pay attention, we don't have a chance of finding that extraordinary view. I took a photograph of a toy maker in a little village, a veritable imp of a man, a coyote trickster of a toy maker. And I just couldn't get his personality onto film, but I'm trying to stay with it, to listen to all the ways that life is speaking to me. And finally, he finished the story, stuffed his face right in my face, grabbed his ear and said, "Know what I mean?" I saw that moment, that vision, because I was paying attention. Sometimes it takes a huge amount of patience. They sent me up to British Columbia, to the Selkirk Mountains. Incredible area. And they asked me to do a romantic little story on a romantic village down there by the lake. And I'm wandering around looking for romantic images. And I heard about 3 men, all in their mid to late 80s, who lived in that village, who play golf every morning. And I thought, perfect, So I'm out there before dawn. I'm driving to the golf course. I could see this image of them putting out on a backlit green with the sun breaking over the mountains. And I came around a corner to the road. The golf course was closed, a big gate. Okay, patience, Dewitt. So I waited. Sun came up, the light got bad, but finally a guy came out, opened the gate. I said, "Hey, where are those old men?" He said, "Hey, those men are really old." He said, "They don't get out here till noon." Okay, Dewitt, wait, patience. I waited. The light got really bad, but finally at noon, out they came. And they were great. They were full of life and joie de vivre, but they were really old. And I was terrible. My photographs were awful. They got worse. I was shooting hospice posters. It wasn't happening. And it wasn't fair, because these guys had a great vision and I wanted to capture it. So I kept trying to pay attention, to listen to all the ways that life was speaking to me. And finally, one of the guys hit a chip shot out of the green. The other guy looked around and said, "Nice shot, Jack." And I had it. I had it. It was all in the curve of that ankle and the crook of that elbow. And the fence that told you weren't at Pebble Beach. fact that the greenskeeper had died 12 years ago, that helped, you know? So that's how all these techniques go together. And I hope you can take those metaphors and use them in your own life. Because by being creative, we really do fall in love with the world. And in that moment, we transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. My photography has given me so many of those moments. Moments where the whole world just shines, you know, with meaning and power and wonder and reverence. Moments where I know that if I'm open enough to see it, I always live in a world full of light and abundance and opportunity. And you know, the beauty of that world shows us an incredible example of how to live, of how to love, of a banquet laid, of a cup overflowing, of just putting it out there, the very best that we have to offer every day, without any regard to whether it's received or not. And I know that if we let that beauty fill us up, that we too will overflow. And it'll come out in everything we do. In the quality of the way we conduct ourselves, in the caliber of the products we offer, in the depth of service we give to our clients and our customers, and then just as clearly, in the way we treat our family, in the service we give in our community, in the stories we tell to our kids at bedtime. It'll come out in our lives. And I had that come so clearly to me one night when I stood beside the great fountain geyser in Yellowstone. And as the sun began to set, the geyser began to go off. And it was just unspeakably beautiful. And I kept photographing and dancing and you know, crying out until that last marvelous apparition had risen up from the geyser and disappeared. And I thought, you know, there are probably 30,000 people in the park, and they all ought to be right with me watching this incredible miracle. And then I realized that it really didn't matter. Because that banquet, that miracle, is out there every day. Not just at Yellowstone at sunset, but every day in everything we do. To fill us to overflowing, to connect us with our passion, to infuse us with creativity and with love. See that vision, my friends, and seize the day. Thank you very much.